It was a game that Fulham, Cass, of course, really wanted to win to continue their push for survival in the Premier League. But it ended up being Wolves that came away with the win in the end. It was a 1-goal win, and it was an Adama Traore goal in stoppage time. It was a terrific goal as well, wasn't it? But afterwards, I don't know if you saw some of the footage, but we saw Lamina walking off. He was in floods of tears, the Fulham player, wasn't he? Because I think there was a lot of emotion riding on this game, bearing in mind that Fulham now have played 2 more games than Newcastle, who Steve Bruce's side are just 3 points clear, but that could now be extended to 6 points with them heading to Burnley tomorrow at midday. What did you make of Fulham's performance? Are they showing still that fighting spirit that we've seen of them of late?
Yeah, they're showing a lot of energy to close down, work hard. I think, like I touched on with Arsenal, I think Scotty Parker's made Fulham look a little bit too negative for me. I thought that their biggest achievement this season, when he made changes to the team and brought in loan players and a couple of buys, he done brilliantly well. If you look at their recent goals for tally, because I always look at goals for, I think it's a big telling factor apart from points, and they can't score goals.
No.
But then if you watch the game, Mitrovic is on his own so much, so isolated, that when he gets a ball delivered into the box, he's easy to mark because there's not enough of bodies in there. And I think that's been a real factor for Fulham. Loftus-Cheek had a great chance. I looked at his numbers last night, Loftus-Cheek, for Fulham this season. He's got 1 goal in about 26, 27 games for Fulham. Got everything, Loftus. Quick. I know he's had bad injuries. He's had some, a lot of injuries to deal with. Technically superb. Great mentality. Does a lot of things in not really great areas, as in, shows a bit of ability just in front of the halfway line. I want him to be further up the park and maybe make a difference. I think Loftus-Cheek's been disappointing for them because he's a good player. I mean, he's 25. You have to remind yourself, he's 25 years old now, Loftus-Cheek. He's not a kid anymore at Chelsea.
Yeah.
He's been loaned out a million times. I think there's a lot in there with Loftus, and yet his numbers are poor. But I do think their style, if you look at their front three yesterday, you very rarely saw anybody join Mitrovic to get on the end of something and create. And Lookman was injured, and he's been really good for him this season. That was a blow. So they struggled to create.
They struggled to create, but having said that, as I said to you before, I was watching on the big screen, but I really was keeping more of an eye on the Watford game for obvious reasons. But it did sort of seem every time I looked up, Fulham, were going for it. They were trying to create something, but as it was just the final third, much like Reading, that let them down, really.
Yeah, they did. And I mean, Robinson putting a couple of great balls into the box. But again, if you're only going to get one body in the 18-yard box, you are not going to score goals. You're easy to pick up. Yeah. One thing you do, you look at players, look at Lamina and look at Reed. 2 really good central midfielders for Fulham. Both get the ball, both win the ball, keep it, move it simply. Are they going to get you a goal? No, they're not. They're not midfielders who are going to get on the score sheet. And so it's a problem generally for Fulham, because you only have to look at their recent record now, and their goals for column is very, very low for a team fighting to stay up. And that is a big issue for Scotty Parker. Wolves changed their system. They started with a 4, ended up going with a 5 because obviously an injury to Pedro, which was... They managed it. They were quite comfortable for me once they changed. It's been a difficult run-in for Fulham, but I think they're a better side than what they're playing at the moment. I think there's more there. And again, I know it's easy for me sitting in a chair in a studio and saying you've got to be more aggressive in the way you play. But I've talked about Arsenal and I've talked about Fulham. That's the standout points of what's not working for them. Their play going forward and creative. If you always want to get bodies behind the ball, which is admirable, you have to work hard, but you have to also be able to have something the other way. And Fulham don't have that at the moment.
Well, you're certainly right to highlight the goals for column, because it's only Sheffield United who have scored fewer goals in the Premier League. 17 Sheffield United, Fulham 24, which is the same as Burnley. But it kind of does go
of
to
late,
show...
it's been even lower, though, now, hasn't it? If you look at the games, they're only chipping in the odd goal here and there.